I call the member for McKellar.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Treasurer. Can the Treasurer tell us how the Morrison government is ensuring that the budget is prepared to deal with any economic impacts from the coronavirus? Is he aware of any alternative policies?
The Treasurer has the call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I thank the member for McKellar for his question. Acknowledge his background in the private sector before coming to this place, his chairmanship of the House Tax and Revenue Committee, and no one was more pleased when we on this side of the House, against the will of those opposite, passed more than $300 billion of tax cuts, Mr Speaker. Now, Mr Speaker, we on this side of the House believe the path to a stronger economy is through lower taxes, more jobs and responsible budget management. Now, yesterday, Mr Speaker, was the 24th anniversary of the coming to government of the Howard government, Mr Speaker. The Howard government. It's important to remember what they inherited and what they left. When they came to government, Mr Speaker, they inherited a budget deficit of around 2% of GDP, or $11 billion. By the time they left office, Mr Speaker, they left a budget surplus.
Just if the Treasurer could pause for a second and the member for Gorton could stop interjecting. As I've said repeatedly, we're just falling into bad habits here. I've listened to the question carefully. He can obviously give some context and some comparison. And as much as I was a part of the Howard government, the question didn't ask him about that. It asked him about the government's policies and any alternatives to them. The Treasurer has the call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I was explaining the importance of responsible budget management where the Howard government left a pristine balance sheet. Now, when we came to government, we inherited a fiscal mess. There was a deficit of $48.5 billion, of around 3% of GDP. Now we have the first balanced budget in 11 years, Mr Speaker. We have unemployment has come down from 5.7% we inherited to 5.3% today, and we have helped create more than 1.5 million new jobs, Mr Speaker. We have helped create more than 1.5 million new jobs, and we've passed more than $300 billion of tax cuts. And this important economic discipline will allow us the fiscal flexibility to respond to the economic shock that we are now seeing from the spread of the coronavirus. Now, quite distinct from the GFC, the coronavirus is disrupting global supply chains and is having a significant economic impact. Now, overnight, the OECD singled out Australia and Germany as two countries which could introduce additional economic measures without endangering debt sustainability, Mr Speaker. Now, that was the OECD talking about the importance of maintaining those fiscal buffers. Now, I'm asked about alternative approaches. We know that those opposite, when they were last responding to an economic shock, we saw that they spent money on pink bats, Mr Speaker, and overpriced school halls, and most recently took $387 billion of higher taxes to the last election, Mr Speaker. The importance of disciplined fiscal management gives a government the ability to respond to economic shocks like the spread of the coronavirus, which this economy now faces.